All right. Welcome to Parks and Cemetery for June 9th. Present today are Councilman Frank and Councilman Schramm. Appointed officers, City Attorney Paul Jensen and Troy Kruger as Public Works Director. Parks and Cemetery Supervisor Marty Peterson and myself. Turn this over to you guys. Troy?
Not a whole lot to talk about today. I guess one of the big things is for parks is if we get that grant, how much money council's willing to give us to finish the Bailey Park complex, softball, baseball complex. We've not done any more work on that because we don't know the status of the grant yet. Haven't ordered anything yet, other than just a few items that we did last year that had to be done. The other thing is that I would bring to the table today is I've been working with DGR, and there's a grant out there that would tie in with our parks, and it would bring another walking trail / sidewalk that we might be eligible for, that would connect our current walking trail from South County to Highway 18, but would benefit the school and the parks, and redo that sidewalk from South County to the Highway 18, right in front of the parks and the school and all that good stuff. So we're looking into that. Jacob's going to be here today, so I'll get a chance to talk to him a little more about that.
That'd take care of 7th Street, the hill.
That hill area.
Something to fix that, yep.
Where we have that narrow 4-foot sidewalk, and we have
Yep.
a lot of problems there with snow removal in the wintertime
And
and
ice.
ice.
Need to figure out some way to get that water to run not on the sidewalk.
That's all
Yep,
the discussions I've had with Jacob, and putting in some sort of a retaining wall and a drainage system that'll carry that snow melt down and away from the sidewalk instead of over the sidewalk. So that's what the other thing we're working on. But to date, we have, what field is tore up? Bailey's. The actual Bailey's field is out of commission.
But we're working on it. We got the pole set and half of the, Wednesday and Thursday, half of the backstop built.
have we got notice that we got the grant?
No.
Here's the communication. Troy, you're going to need to follow up with Chandra for 100% clarity, but so you're aware and you're aware, it's a real possibility they are not going to appropriate funds this year to that grant on a federal level. States approved it. It's not being appropriated, Chandra said, quite possibly. Realistically, we won't know, I think, until July 30th. So as we're waiting for a grant on July 29th, this one might be out till July 30th. There is a possibility it's appropriated, but it's not looking like, and it's not for winter, it's federally. All these states that had applied for these grant funds, they might not be appropriated. So if you're waiting on the grant, I wouldn't count on it right now.
There are some things that need to be done to Bailey's, even if we don't get the grant. There's some
Agreed.
sidewalk issues down there. I guess, other than that, we probably could get by.
Right, but
We
this
need doors.
25,000 though wasn't part of the grant, right, for this year?
That's what I understood.
No,
Right, okay.
it was not. And the commitment from council last year, Marty, when we went through the budget process, and I think Councilman Clunt spearheaded this, that if the funding came through on the grant, the city would go ahead and bring more funds forward you guys would determine the amount. At that time, I think Austin talked about going from 25,000 this year to 50,000 a year over a 3-year, because typically you have to use it 3 years. It can be more aggressive than that. You just have 3 years to complete your project.
So I'm good to continue with what I'm doing.
I believe so.
Right, okay.
If I understand, we just can't do anything that's part of the grant, else we lose an opportunity to get the grant, is that correct?
It is usually.
Like if a new backstop was part of the grant, and we put up a new backstop before the grant, then we won't get any of it. That's what I understand, is that,
That's my
It's a
understanding.
possibility it goes that
Okay.
firm, yes.
so we need to be very aware of that, you know.
I think at this point, we have to move forward.
Yeah, there are some, that's why the $25,000 was put in the budget, is there were some things that, irregardless of whether we got the grant or not, we thought that this process was gonna move a little faster than it did.
Yep.
We were, we knew last fall that on the state level that we were approved for the grant, but, the federal level's been, we haven't heard. So, there was $25,000 that was appropriated into this year's budget. And had we gotten the grant and knew our position, that $25,000 would have been spent on things for that park. And then we would have submitted those for reimbursement in the grant process. But it was also put in there because we knew that there was things down there that needed to be addressed whether we got the grant or not. And so Marty continues, I'll get that grant application to you so you can see what's all on there, what we got, what we were asking for. And then, so that we don't, until we know the status of the grant, we probably don't want to purchase any of those items, but we could go, we obviously have to go forward. We can't just quit, make no progress on that complex until we know that.
I agree.
There's things that have to be done. We've got some sidewalk issues. We have some door issues on that concession stand bathroom down there. So we've got some things that have to be taken care of no matter what. That's really all that I had for today, but you want to, I think we're making McDonald's Field sod coming middle of this month.
Probably, yeah. I gotta get on that. We gotta do a little bit of dirt work to get that going.
So hopefully have that field back into working, getting some playing on that yet before the year is over.
The Little League season ends in 1st of July, so. Everybody's being patient and we're getting by.
Labor Day, cemetery, Labor Day went good.
Memorial.
The cemetery looked good. I did receive some phone calls and basically it's the graves that don't have any grass on them yet, so we're working on those. Marty and I have discussed options, cutting some sod, replacing some of those areas that, it's not that we haven't tried. We've seeded, we've fertilized, I'm gonna go back to saying that we got some soil a couple years ago, and it was supposed to be good black dirt, and I just don't think it was good black dirt. There was something in it, but some of them graves have been there for a while, and they're just not growing grass, so we're going to have to look at other options to get, and that sod, we'll cut sod out and replace that dirt with sod. Sprinkler systems, we're starting to water again now that the holiday's over, but I thought Labor Day, I thought the thing looked good. We just got to continue to water and keep working on it, and our spraying program in the cemetery has made a huge difference. A couple of years ago, there was a lot of weeds in the cemetery, and these guys have been on a more systematic spraying program where they're doing it, they're putting down the spring spray, the fall spray, and it's making a huge difference on the weeds in the cemetery. We're going to continue to work on the sprinkler systems and get that west part of the cemetery growing and get that water on that. I think we have one dead tree down there that we're gonna have to get rid of and replace with a new tree. We tried to save the trees off the bike trail from last year's Highway 44 project, and one of the older trees didn't make it through the winter, so we'll have to replace that tree. But you got anything else?
No, we're busy.
You have
Were
any
you
questions?
able to find, did we sell that sod cutter that we talked about?
We haven't even talked yet
We haven't talked to
operationally.
Troy about it.
I'm sorry?
I have not talked to Troy about it.
Oh, okay.
He wasn't here the other day when we talked about it.
We still have it.
Okay.
There's issues with it. It was bought brand new, to my understanding. It was bought before I was here. I think it was bought like 10 or 12 years ago.
Oh, I think longer than that, because
Longer
I
than-
used it when I remodeled the baseball field.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
something that they're having problems now with, whenever we use it, the cutter wants to travel up, and so you set it at a depth, so you want 2 inches of sod. As you cut the sod,
it gets, yep,
it gets shallower and shallower, and
Yeah.
we've tried different, we've drilled holes and bolted it down and tried different
and it
things.
still walks up, huh?
It just does not work
Yeah.
right. And so we're looking at a different sod cutter that mounts on the front of that Ventrek mower. And it's just a roller and a blade, and you just lower it in the ground and you just go. And it seems to looking at the editorials on it, and
On that $40,000 lawnmower, is that what you're talking about? That
Yep.
one? Yeah, okay. That ought to cut sod, yep. Does
it's-
everything else,
much faster.
Does.
yeah. Well, it seemed to me that would be the answer to the problems that we have out there, because, I made this comment the other day, my wife was buried in 2018, and she still doesn't have grass on top of her grave. It looks like gravel. I mean, when I was out there Memorial Day, it doesn't look like there's topsoil there at all, even though there's just a couple of weeds growing up, but it looks more like gravel than it does any kind of topsoil. So it would seem to me that cutting the sod with a sod cutter instead of a backhoe, saving that off to the side, and then when you fill the grave in, put the sod back on top.
Well,
But without a decent sod cutter,
there's issues. Sometimes it's not as easy as just getting in there and cutting the sod off, because you don't have a whole lot of room in there between headstones.
sure,
So our plan is probably not to take it off and then the ground has to be, you have to have a pretty level, flat piece of ground to cut a nice consistent 2-inch piece of sod. So if you have any deviations in the ground, any dips or shallow spots, as you cut that sod off, you're going to leave you're not going
Yep.
to cut a consistent 2 inches.
yep,
So I think
I understand what you're saying.
I
Yep.
think we take our sod from another location and bring it after we do the digging of the grave, but.
Okay,
And then that'll give us a nice level finished surface when it's done too. And, yeah, we're looking at some different options, and we gotta do something different.
yep,
That was my number one. That was the gist of my phone calls over the Memorial Day weekend was just, and it does. We want it to look better. We're trying to do better. We need to do a better job of getting grass back on the grave, so we will do a better job in the future.
That's kind of my plan for Trevor and a couple of kids the rest of the summer is,
try to get those graves
yeah.
that aren't
yeah.
satisfactory.
Looks like we got good dirt now.
Yeah, we did purchase, we've got 40 loads so far, and it's good pasture dirt, virgin dirt that, hasn't had a building on it, or it wasn't a road at one time. This is coming out of a pasture, and so we know it's not gonna have any oil, or, there was never anything sitting on it or anything, so this was just, it's pasture dirt, and I think we're gonna take advantage of it. We have 40 loads so far, and I told Kelly yesterday they're hauling it in, and it looks good. I think we're gonna keep hauling, because good dirt is really really hard to come by, and we go through more and more dirt every year with the water replacement projects, and when we do some water replacement, we're going back in and we're putting, clean
Decent
dirt on
dirt on
top
top,
and seeding, and
How deep are you going with that?
when we fill in after the water.
As far as the topsoil on the top,
We put about a foot on.
a foot.
Oh, yeah.
A foot,
Yeah.
that's a lot, yeah, that's
Yeah.
a lot of topsoil, yeah.
So we go through dirt rather fast, so. We're also starting to save our grass clippings out in the cemetery, and we're composting now too, so we're trying to make dirt out there out at the landfill, so that we've got something good to bring to town and mix in with our current dirt, so that, we're working on trying to get grass to grow more, better in this area. So,
Have you started on your budget process, looking at projects for next year? Or are we just focused on the projects that we have open now?
I'm focused on the open projects, but
I understand that.
we started a lot of projects, and
Well, I'd like you to consider lights at Leahy Bowl. They're seriously dim. We need to at least find out what it's gonna cost to replace them, for next budget year. So if you could, as far as I know, Muskow is the only people that do that. I have no idea who else to even contact other than Muskow out of Iowa.
well, I think last time the lights at Leahy Bowl came up, the discussion was to switch over to LED lights.
Correct, but we were told, and I have a hard time believing this, but we were told that we don't have enough electricity going up the pipe, going up the pole. I thought LEDs used less electricity,
Yeah.
so, but the previous, when the guy that has McCready's now,
Yeah.
Miles.
he told us we didn't have heavy enough wire climbing the pole, but I don't have the ability to check into that, but we need to have Muskow tell us that probably.
I'm guessing that Miles was telling you the wire that you had was probably old and needed to be replaced, and if you're gonna do the project with LED lights, he was probably suggesting that you do, you update all of that stuff when you do that. I'd have to talk to him and ask him, but those lights have been up there for quite a while. I'm guessing that, if you're gonna do the lights, you're gonna wanna do the hardware, the wire and the conduit and everything going up the pole to them, so that you're updating everything if you're gonna put in all new lights, you're gonna wanna update some of your infrastructure to get power to those lights, so that probably added a lot more cost to the project than just switching out some lights.
And that's what I wonder, if the updating is absolutely needed or necessary, but if it's just because we're gonna put new lights in, we gotta put in new wires that go to them, that doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I
If the
think
wires
also-
are fine, then I don't see any reason to just replace them.
I think also at the time, they looked into a bulb that would, an LED bulb that would replace the bulbs that are currently in there.
Okay,
And at that time, they didn't make an LED bulb that screwed into that particular socket. And I would be surprised now if they did not make something like that. That's something we could check into and see if they make an LED an LED bulb that just screws into
yeah.
that socket, because, that's a huge thing now. I would really be surprised if they didn't make a replacement bulb for those that was an LED.
I'm not gonna disagree with you, but I know that it was 2016, I believe, the last year we put new bulbs in. And that was like 30,000, I'm not gonna remember it completely, but it was around $30,000. But as I understood when we were talking about them, maybe in 2020,
2018.
Pardon me?
Just spring of 2018.
okay, it was gonna be like 130,000 to replace the fixtures,
200
200?
for the total project.
Okay. But that was to put new fixtures up that would accommodate the LED. So maybe if these will accommodate new bulbs, because I understand you get way more lumens out of LED for less electricity than what you do the kind that we have. But we need to, if we could research that, I'd like to see those numbers, in case you want to put it as part of next year's plan. Because we're gonna be in danger of, we've been fortunate to get a lot of state youth baseball tournaments here, which bring 6 or 7 teams in from out of town that stay at the hotels and eat at the restaurants. And if we don't have one of the best facilities, we're not gonna get them. So we need to, I think we need to keep up on that part of it. I mean, the field is absolutely wonderful and great, but if they come here and they see that it's dark, then they won't want to come back, That's always the problem. When we changed them in 2016, the guy we bought the bulbs from then said that every year you lose 10% of what you had. So it's not like a light bulb lasts 10 years, because the first year you lose 10%, and then, so now you're down to 90, then you lose another 10% of that. So, of the number of lumens that the lights actually put out, so we need to give that some consideration.
How many open projects do we have right now? Bailey's?
Bailey's and McDonald's are the big ones, and, continuously working at cemeteries, sprinklers.
The sprinkler system out on that island at the cemetery and the road, I think, was in this year's, correct?
Yeah, the Highway 18 deal, getting the sprinklers on that, I just started contacting people again this week and trying to get another round of bids. I never did get anyone to give me a solid, give me a number and say that they would do it or commit to it. I talked to like 5 different companies that do sprinklers, and I couldn't get anybody to commit to it, and I couldn't even get a quote from anybody. But I went around and I contacted all those guys, and I think the guy out of Gregory, and there's a guy and a company out of Platte that said they might be able to squeeze us in yet this year and get it done. So I have to go around and get new quotes from them. So I have to go after my conversations with them, I have to run out there and remeasure that, because they lost they lost the information I provided to them the first time, so.
The other one is Tri-State out of Hardington, Nebraska. They do a lot of sprinklers, and they're up in this area.
Have you talked to Prairie Green out of Sioux Falls? Kenny Alden?
No,
I'll get you his phone number, because he's planning on coming and doing Trinity Lutheran Church, which maybe, it's a long ways to come for a little job. So maybe he's worth talking to about doing that island.
yeah. Yeah,
And he's a former winter guy, and they come out and blow out.
What's his company's name?
I believe his name is Prairie Green.
Is he with Prairie Green? Yeah.
Well, I think that's his company.
Okay, yeah.
I think, but I might be wrong on that name.
It's the name I've seen over there.
Kenny and Mark, it's his boy Mark, but
Yeah. I think that sounds right.
I think it's Prairie Green, yeah. But I know they come out and they do a bunch of blowouts in the fall. And our church is trying to schedule him to come put it in our area, so maybe same time he came for that, might work out good. He won't have another travel cost.
Mobilizations.
Huh?
Mobilizations,
Well,
that's what it costs.
that's a lot of it. Here, I have his phone number. Ready?
Yeah.
Three six.
Let's not put that
This
over
is
there.
Kenny Alden.
Yeah, off camera, we'll give
Oh,
him.
well, it's, okay.
You can just give it to Troy after.
I'm writing it down.
Okay.
But he wouldn't care. If somebody's
So-
watching, they want a lawn
Yeah,
guy.
it's free advertising.
Yeah. But I don't know when he's planning on doing the church, but.
Anything else, men? All right. Half hour, please.
Is it prairie grass?
Maybe it's prairie